If you're watching this and you're thinking, man, she sounds like she doesn't feel good, it's because I don't feel good. I don't know why I don't feel good. The best I can figure it is there's this thing that happens when you're in teaching that anytime there's an extended break, so summer break, spring break, fall, and Christmas, you will get sick because your body has worked so hard to keep your immune system going for a whole semester or year that it just conks out the minute you have a spare amount of time. So I just kind of don't feel great. So I thought it'd be cool to do the mid-year freakout. It's about time to do that anyway. We're about halfway through the year. And it helps me see kind of where I'm going versus where I'm heading. So let's give you a little bit of data. Also at the end, I have 3 books to unbox. They're pre-orders that I knew were coming in, but I don't remember which is which, so we'll all be surprised. So I've actually read 47 books so far this year, according to my data where I've been tracking it. I actually just finished Tempest of Tea last night on audiobook, and it was really good. I need the sequel immediately, but as far as I know, it doesn't have a release date yet, which is great. This original tag, I'll have it linked in the description below. I've done it pretty much every year, and it just kind of helps me think about the things that I've read. So out of 47 books, this is kind of the best of the best of them, or the worst of the worst. So the very first one is the best book you've read so far in 2024, and I try not to do 2 books per, but I did like both of these books. So I would have to say Behind You is the Sea it's a multi-generational story of Palestinian Americans and their sort of journey to figure out who they are and where they are. And The Memory Police, which is about a town where people forget things, and one woman's efforts to hide her friend who does not forget things. So we got like a literary fiction and a speculative sci-fi, but both of these were beautifully written, and they were really like made you think, and I appreciate that, so that's why they were the best. Now there were other good books, but those were the best. The best sequel I read this year, I haven't read that many sequels, so the competition wasn't really that steep, but I would have to say A Haunting on the Hill, and this one almost made it into the best books. This is a fantastic, fantastic sequel to Haunting of Hill House. That's not a sequel kind of in a traditional sense. Like the vibes are there, and it definitely takes place at Hill House, and it references things that happen in A Haunting of Hill House. But I don't know, you just have to kind of experience it to read it. And I'm going to be including this probably in my best audiobooks of the year as well, because the audio design for the audiobook is fantastic, because there's like chants and sound effects and things during the reading experience that I'm glad I did it during the day and not at night, because it would have freaked me out. The next is a new release you are looking forward to reading. You haven't read it yet, but you want to. I mean, anything I've pre-ordered, like if I pre-ordered something and I haven't read it yet, that's really embarrassing for me. But like the 2 specifically I want to get to are, the first is What Feast at Night, which is the next book after What Moves the Dead, which I loved when it came out. I've heard this one is really good. I'm putting this in my Summerween TBR. It's relatively short. But I love T. Kingfisher's work. They write such good stuff. And the next one I know I have to read now is Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. I just read There, and it blew me away. I'm trying to find ways to like include that in my AP Lit class, because I really think they could have good conversations with it, but it does have a pretty distinct ending if you've read it before, so I want to make sure that I'm prepared to handle those conversations. But this is apparently like a companion. It's not a sequel, but it's more like it's about the same area and people. Like this is about oh gosh, it's about one of the families in there. Like it starts with them from the first book, so I'm interested to pick this one up. The next is the most anticipated for the rest of the year, and I had to look at my pre-orders and see which ones had shifted to being in 2025 instead of 2024. And so one of the ones I'm excited about is Death at Mourning House by Maureen Johnson. She wrote the Truly Devious series, which I love, and I'm very interested in picking this book up. I'm also going to be getting I Was a Teenage Slasher. That's coming in. It's Stephen Graham Jones's next novel. So I'm always excited about a Stephen Graham Jones coming out. My biggest disappointment for this year so far has been The Salt Grows Heavy. Maybe I shouldn't have listened it to an audiobook. I don't know. Something about that book did me dirty. Which sucks, because I had later read Nothing But Blackened Teeth, and that one wasn't that bad. I actually kind of liked that one. But something about the words, man, just because you have a thesaurus doesn't mean you need to use it. It just really let me down. I was hoping for more. The concept was really good, but the execution was not there. Biggest surprise to me is probably Lone Women by Victor LaValle. I mean, I knew it was probably going to be good. I've read Victor LaValle multiple times, and he writes fantastic stuff. But I don't think I was prepared to like a book about like monsters on the prairie, basically, and in the wilderness, like I did. There's parts of it that I think could have been stronger, and it definitely moves a little too fast in places when it stagnates in others. But I was surprised at how much I liked that in spite of that. So I mean, highly recommend adding this to any kind of like summerween things you're wanting to do, because it is spooky, and it has a really good message about like acceptance and community. So my favorite new author, either debut or new to me, would have to be, I have two of them. It's Sequoia Nagamatsu. And Sequoia Nagamatsu wrote How High We Go in the Dark. I just listened to that on audiobook, and it was fantastic. Another literary, speculative fiction, sci-fi kind of thing. And the writing was just gorgeous. So I'm looking forward to reading more of their work. And then Jade Adia, who wrote There Goes the Neighborhood. I thought that book really encapsulated the voice of like teenagers so well. Like I teach them, so sometimes when I'm reading YA, I can't help but think, when's the last time this author has been around a teenager? And I can tell that she's done her research. She's put in the work to know how these children speak and how they spend their time and what they prioritize, because the voice was really strong. I recommended it to like a bunch of kids this year because I thought it was very good. And I got a lot of little freedom fighters who would love that story because it's about trying to save your neighborhood. The next is newest fictional crush, and I just don't do those. I don't do those. I don't really have any, so I'm just gonna skip that one for this year. The next one is newest favorite character, and it's not newest, right? Like, these have been favorites for a while now, but, like, if we don't shout out, like, we love seeing two bad bitches be friends. Jade and Letha are, like, the coolest people on the planet, and if you haven't read this trilogy, which starts with My Heart is a Chainsaw, Don't Fear the Reaper, and then Angel of Indian Lake, what are you doing with your life? They are, like, so cool. I mean, this book kind of did it did a lot. It was doing a lot. But like you really should read this series. Jay Daniels like is like one of the coolest final girls. She's so reluctant to do it. And Letha like takes that job and runs with it. And the friendship between those two is just so beautiful to watch develop over the 3 books and the like multiple years between the first and the third one, that like you really do need to give this a chance. They're not necessarily new favorite characters, but I want to validate them and that they still are. The next is a book that made you cry. A Man Called Ove is was one of the first books I read this year. And I literally was sobbing through the ending. I was so mad at myself, but it's so beautiful and funny and heartfelt. And I haven't added Frederick Bachman to my TBR for the rest of the year, but I think I may have to pick up another one. But I'm always like emotionally wrecked by his books, so you have to be planning it very, very specifically. But like this one did make me cry actual tears. For a book that made you happy, I would have to say Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers was very, very funny, but again, very heartfelt. It's almost like two sides of the same coin with Man Called Ove and Vera Wong, because they're both about like an older person that just sort of ends up involved with this found family of young people, which Vera puts herself involved, and Ove is absolutely not wanting to be involved until the very end. But it just made me happy how like the family kind of found each other, and they helped each other out through, you know, kind of an awful circumstance. And I mean, it was a murder mystery kind of thriller, but it was fun and lighthearted. So the most beautiful book that I have received this year or bought so far this year, Evil Eye is fantastic. It's almost a monochromatic moment. I love the symmetry of it. I do like that it's this beautiful, like almost hand-painted eye effect, considering how important this imagery is in the novel. And I don't have a physical copy yet, but I would say both covers of Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed, which I got to read early through NetGalley, and I've already pre-ordered. It's chef's kiss. It's so pretty. Both covers are phenomenal, fantastic, zero notes. I love them so much. But yeah, so those are definitely up there. The last one is What Do You Still Need to Read by the end of the year? Whatever gets me to 100. whatever gets me to 100. And again, any pre-order that I haven't read yet, like I'm staring them down right now, the books that I've ordered and have not read. So yeah, anything that gets me to 100, I'm happy with that. Alright, so let's do an unboxing. Speaking of pre-orders that I haven't gotten to yet, let's see what these are. Oh, cool. I ordered 12th Night, because if you didn't know this about me, I'm a 12th Night girly. That's like one of my favorite Shakespeare's. I read it every year if I can. I love that it says Game On. I think that's really fun. Oh, cool. Look at the inside art. That's fun. Let's see what's on the back. If it's the same thing or not. Yeah, it is. It's the same thing. That's so cool. That's cute. So this is kind of not 12th Night like Shakespeare, but also is 12th Night like Shakespeare, but it looks like it's got a little bit of Arthurian stuff thrown in, but it's about like an RPG that they play called 12th Night. So interested in that. That'll be a good summer read. Alright, come on. That one did not want to open. Alright. I cannot show you this one. Alright, the next one, I'm not going to show you. I did order a book that is it's the third in a series that I have read the first book of. It's written by a former pretty big YouTuber. She's on Nebula now, but her book is with St. Martin's Press. So, you just got to... Yep. Alright, the next book is... Oh, wow. This one feels so funky. It's Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. Like that, do you see? That cover is like textured. It's a Barnes & Noble exclusive. It's got red pages. Fun. Love that. And it is... Oh, wow. Look at that. It's the inside cover. That is so neat. Okay. I can dig it. I can dig it. I don't know a lot about this one. I just know that I wanted to get it because the cover was compelling and I really liked the Pallbearers Club last year. So I figured I'd pick up his newest one. That is so cool. Oh, it's based in 1993. That's neat. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed making it. It was pretty easy to make. So, let me know kind of what your least favorites and favorites are so far this year. Because maybe I can add stuff and move it up in my TBR if I think it's interesting enough. Meanwhile, I'm going to go edit this and try to drink tea and feel better. Bye.